Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Midweek Live, joined by the original, the OG, the main man, Kenny Stewart. Kenny, how are you this evening, mate? You well?
I'm not bad, mate. Yep, quite tired. Been a day running about, but thoroughly enjoyed it. So, yeah, looking forward to this. Yeah, we chat.
Yeah, obviously more has come out about Andrew Cavanagh's discussion with the press on Sunday. But something very cool happened to the podcast. And I'm going to tell people about it in a couple of minutes. Kenny, it's been a few days since the season end, since Andrew Cavanagh spoke, since Danny Rowe was back at Rangers. You've had a few days now to kind of chew it all over. How are you feeling with regards to that discussion and everything that happened then?
Well, the discussions are there's no smoking gun or anything like that in there, Stevie, is there? But there's plenty been said and spoken about, and yeah, I've noticed online there's an awful lot of people just still very angry about the end of the season, which is understandable. However, as a football club, you've got to kind of look at it and kind of move forward. The decision for Danny Rowe is splitting opinion, obviously, but I can understand where the club's coming from. Time will tell whether that's the correct decision or not. What Andrew Cavanagh and Jim Gillespie have said, we'll talk about tonight. But in terms of the football club in general, Stevie, it's just a massive summer, isn't it? It's just an enormous summer for us, and we have to get this right. We can't go finishing third ever again. It's just got to be dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely has. Andrew Cavanagh's owned it. Let's see what he can do. But Jim Gillespie spoke for the first time. First time properly meeting Jim Gillespie. I've met him before, but properly meeting him on Sunday. Was it Sunday? It was Sunday, wasn't it? Aye, Sunday morning. And he spoke very well. Jim Gillespie, he speaks with a determination. Again, I have invited Jim onto the channel to speak to his support, and it's something that he would like to do. So it's going to be interesting. We'll keep working on that. There's an open invitation there, and hopefully we'll hear from him. But he did say he believes Rangers are the leading club in Scotland, therefore he wants us to lead the change. He wants us to drive standards of officiating up with VAR. He also spoke about with VAR he's prepared to put money in as a club to improve those standards. No one really wants the controversy or the bad press in the game in Scotland as received of late. But, you know, something's got to change, Kenny. He spoke quite openly about it. Whether or not it is putting more money in it, whether it is the refs going to full time. But there seems to be a general consensus for the first time, or certainly from what they're saying, that everyone is in favour of changing.
Well, I certainly hope so. We can't get through another absolute embarrassment and debacle that we've watched in the last couple of weeks, Stevie, and too many decisions, highly contentious decisions from the first day to the last. It just can't go on like this in terms of the referees. I think the SFA are culpable in that. I think their statement last week was quite literally appalling. I mean, how to bury your head in the sand and blame everybody else round about you, when at the end of the day, the bottom line is, if the referees and the officials do their jobs properly, you don't have this furore. You don't have this kind of craziness surrounding our game, because, you know, VAR was brought in to make the decisions more correct and easier to make. And if anything, Stevie, what it's done is compounded the issue, but it's made it be known, because there's now more officials, you know, in a game, officiating the game, that it's proven that they're just not up to scratch, and very, very few of them within Scottish football are capable of doing the job to the level that's required. And that's a sad thing to say. And again, we're going to say this, that we have to be wary of how we put things sometimes on here, but everybody knows what we're talking about, and it's just unacceptable. And it isn't acceptable, Stevie. And I just find it strangely ironic. We've discussed this, but I do find it incredibly ironic and really rather laughable that it's happened to another club and all of a sudden everybody takes notice. It shows you where Jim has turned around and said that we're the leading club. Well, you might want to tell the other clubs that, because we haven't acted like it, Stevie. And it's up to Jim himself to turn around and say these things, but lead by example, and drag our football club up by the bootlaces and prove that we're the leading club in the country. To do that, I think we have to be much more vocal, much more visible, and really lead this drive for change in this country. Now, you and I have discussed this for 2.5 years on here, that what we need to happen, and I've been saying it for a long, long time, that I genuinely believe that Rangers need to go nuclear. All you need to do is look at Hearts' statement brought out an hour or so ago, and they're actually leading better than we are on this, in the situation that they're in. It'll fall on deaf ears. We all know it will. So it's up to us to turn around and get that agreement within the other 10 clubs that this can't go on like this. And you've got a job on.
Well, listen, you've said that it'll fall on deaf ears, but something really interesting has happened. The likes of Gary Lineker and stuff picking it up. It's now become a national and a European story. A lot of people are looking into this, and a lot of people are using words like corruption and cheating. Kenny, we have to be careful. People will say, why do you have to be careful? Because I'm liable. I'm liable, and I can't be arsed with people coming after me and demanding apologies and everything else. So we have to be careful. But people are watching this game now and saying, this is corrupt, this is cheating, and it's right there in front of you. Now, that's what people are now reporting it as. So what's happened to Hearts? I've got to be honest with you. As much as I didn't want Celtic to win the league, I don't have much sympathy, because when it was happening to us, nobody cared about us getting penalties denied in League Cup finals for pools and offside goals for Julian years ago for winning League Cup finals, and nobody really cared about it. But now that it's happened to other teams, it might open up their eyes. Now, if we can get enough attention onto this, which is happening, and Hearts are doing it, so good for them, it may force other teams to actually come with us a wee bit. And because that means that they don't feel like Celtic are the big power players anymore, when there's more people kind of looking at it, and there's more sway towards doing something about it. So that's all I can hope. He also spoke about the 12-month review of the football club that was announced by Patrick Stewart. He said it's a near completion. He says that he's done. It was me that asked him, because I said to him, and people can kind of jump in. I said to him that it annoys me that so many high-profile positions at the football club are still vacant, and all we hear about is people leaving. For example, at youth level, Davy McCallum's still in temporary charge of the academy. Now, if Davy McCallum's good enough to be in temporary charge for 2 years when the 17s and the 19s are winning leagues and that, is it fair to Davy himself to keep him as an intern when he seems to be doing from the outside? And you look at the youths and Malky Thompson's role in the 17s, 19s, etc., it seems to be doing quite well. So why have we not made a decision around that? Why have we not done something? And where are we with filling these voids? And Jim was quite pointed in his response to that. He wants everybody aligned and doing the same things. But I'd like to see this football club stabilise, Kenny, in ways that off the pitch we start to see appointments, we start to see people leading, we start to see that, because talk about leaders on the part, we're missing leadership throughout, and I think hopefully that Jim Gillespie will bring that. But it's these things like the academy bosses and finance guys coming and going and everything else. I want to see these things stabilised for Rangers, because they're well they're well capable, and they should be. And there's too many departments in there. There's too many jobs that people might watch this and not care in the slightest, Stevie. Who cares what happens on the pitch? But everything should drive towards making Rangers successful. And when there's so many bits and pieces of the jigsaw that we were promised to be filled in this review and detailed and everything else and blah, 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 it's went on too long for me. Let's see some more action.
Oh, I totally agree. And I'm going to be blunt about this. That, you know, the new owners came in a year ago and we're still pretty much in the same situation, only worse than we were on the park. And there's lots of goings on behind the scenes. We keep hearing this. We need to see evidence of it. We need to see, you know, the shoots of growth within the football club, because you're absolutely right that all you ever hear is that so-and-so is leaving or he's left or whatever. And it's been an upheaval for such a long time behind the scenes. Now, that's not a great work environment, Stevie. It can't be. So they need to correct that. And I understand that the priorities of the first team, and they've kind of stated that. And to be fair to the owners and to Andrew Cavanagh and Parag Marathi, they sat there when they sacked Russell Martin and Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thirlwell, and admitted that they had got this very, very wrong. But we don't have another year to waste. So for me, the appointment of Jim Gillespie is a wonderful one, because he knows our game, he knows this club, he knows this league, he knows this part of the world, he knows the nuances of it. So yeah, I think the day-to-day running of the club will improve drastically with Jim Gillespie there, because he's got a proven track record, Stevie. And that's what he's, at the end of the day, that's what he's there for, is to drag this football club back to where it belongs. And I think he's quite a determined character. So let's hope that we start seeing, as you say, the word is stability, but a little bit of normality about us as well. When you sit and you consider we've had 7 managers in 5 years, with the amount of director, changes or board member changes, and below that, when you'll know this better than I do, but I've heard plenty about people leaving their jobs at Rangers over the last couple of years. It's just been non-stop. So things aren't right, and regardless to whether people want to hear this or not, I don't think it's right in the pitch. I don't think it's been right in the boardroom. I don't think it's been right underneath there. The club, and Andrew Cavanagh again has alluded to this, that the club does need an overhaul, and this review that's taken a year, it's a hell of a long time, Stevie, is a year, but hopefully they start to implement what the findings of that are.
Yeah. Do you know what frustrates me is that, and we're going to come on to this a wee bit as well, talk about the stadium and stuff like that. It's the same update every time. So I absolutely am 100% behind Andrew Cavanagh, Jim Gillespie, etc. I really am, because I feel like they're the correct people. But for me to say that, I've got to be able to point to things, and there's very little I can point to at the moment, because they certainly didn't get it right on the managerial side. They certainly didn't get it right on the pitch. And when you look at everything, we have to be better. Is it just all talk? Needs to be some substance to this, Kenny. And I want to see tangible improvements in the football club on and off the pitch. I am too concerned about Rangers Football Club, about constantly hearing negatives surrounding people leaving and people's experiences, and I want that to change. Now, I need some tangible evidence of our leadership and where we're going. We can point to Jim Gillespie, yep. Can absolutely point to Jim Gillespie as being a good, or that's a CEO position being filled. Where else? What's happening with that academy? Why is it taking so long? There's too many questions. Where's the executives around the football club that we were supposed to be seeing? There's just too much of that, Kenny. So that is my issue with the moment. The more I defend them and say, no, look, the Heart's in a good place and they want to do good things, we have to give them time. I understand all that, but it's been a year. I'd like to see a wee bit more. And again, that was a message that we put over to Andrew Cavanagh and to Jim Gillespie and to the people that run the football club. We need to see substantial things happening, and things that we can gather behind. And they say they made a number of small improvements. I honestly believe that, but there needs to be tangible stuff for us.
Yeah, it's what I said to a couple of weeks ago, if you remember, on here 2 weeks ago tonight, I think it was, where you'd said exactly that.
Right.
Yeah, that we have the right people in place and the club's on the right trajectory. And I don't disagree with that at all. The only issue I have as a Rangers supporter is to look at it and say, show me the absolute proof of that happening. It's all right talking about these things and saying that we want to do this and we want to do that, stadium expansion, get the academy right, get the first team right, get the women's team right, everything surrounding the infrastructure. They clearly want to do it right, and they're good people with the best interests of the club at heart. But we do have to see it, Stevie, because here we are a year down the line with them overtaking our league titles, and us finishing third, with the potential on Saturday of us finding ourselves in the Conference League. And I had a look. I seen a graphic of the teams in the Conference League, and I'll disabuse anybody the idea we're going to win that next season, because I've never seen it as strong since it was formed at that cup. It's a very strong competition next year. If we end up in that, it'll be a tough competition, but with very little revenue come from it. So that puts me in between a rock and a hard place for Saturday, obviously. But look, it's just one of these things that I just, as I say, I'm totally agreeing with you here, because I do genuinely believe they have the best interests of the football club at heart, Stevie. Start to show us with genuine stuff that is visible. And Andrew Cavanagh said it himself. I'll leave it like that. Andrew Cavanagh said it himself on Sunday, Stevie. Talk is cheap, action is required, and he's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I'd like to say I don't want to come across negative. I am fully behind Andrew Cavanagh. I think he's got the right attitude. I really like Jim Gillespie as a person. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can implement. For example, the other night with STV and stuff like that, that ridiculous reporting, I said the only people that could really change that was Rangers. And what I meant by that was challenge it. I suppose there has to be faults. I'd like to think that Jim Gillespie was behind that report being pulled, because it was pulled. And I'd like to know what happens from a club point of view going on. That's probably something that Rangers Fan Advisory Board can pick up. And I'm sure they certainly will. I think they said online that they had approached the club about that. So, look, there's lots of ways which we can improve. And I think that's a good thing for us, because they have to go and do it. We'll talk a wee bit about stadium expansion now, Kenny. Cavanagh and Gillespie have both spoke about this. Now, it was four lads that first spoke about this 9 months ago. Here's where it becomes a wee bit frustrating, because the update is still the same as it was 9 months ago. Ambition into feasibility is basically where they are. They've spoke about it, and they're working with architects, engineers, and project managers on the best way to take this forward. I said 9 months ago that's basically where they were. Rangers are going to expand Ibrox Stadium. By all intents and purposes, that's where Cavanagh and Gillespie are at. There's three options. Again, spoke about this. They're going to stick a tier on the back of the Copeland and the Broomloan, because there's room to do that. They're going to fill the corners, or they're going to dig down and bring the stadium down and possibly add extra tiers to the front. That's what they've talked about. and that's where we need to wait and kind of see what they choose to do. I believe that most likely we'll dig down and add 4.5, maybe a couple more thousand, and we'll get to that magical kind of 60,000 where they're aiming for. Frustrating that we're still in this position of waiting, but I understand again, this takes time, and here's where it becomes difficult, right? Should they have said anything about it 9 months ago, talking about it? Because all it looks like is it's more talk. And they start to get a wee bit concerned about what's really going on. Like there's talk and talk and talk. If it's just a position of we'll just scrap all this at the moment and concentrate on doing the first team and getting that right, then okay, fair enough. People can say, right, we've looked into it, we've got a plan, but it's at the moment it's over here. We need to be careful of this, Kenny, because it sounds like the more it goes on, the more it talks, the more we're still at the same stages. And yeah, maybe I'm naive, maybe these things take a long time. It just feels like it's talk and talk and talk.
It shouldn't take that long, Stevie. A feasibility study doesn't take 9 months. And it doesn't, and I understand that they said they're talking to architects and engineers and project managers, and I get that, but if I'm being 100% honest and blunt about this here, it sounds to me as if, yeah, it's something that they're looking at, but they're not particularly intent on doing this anytime soon. It is a future project, which I understand, because I would just look at it and point to the fact that you look at I was there with you look at the attendance against Hibs. I think they said it was 50,066, and you and I both know it was nothing like that. The first team is the most important thing. We need to be winning things, Stevie, and it's not rocket science. So I understand that they're going to get asked about this and they're going to keep you up to date. But I'm when I read that, you had sent me some stuff on it, and we looked at it, and I thought, well, I'm not really seeing any progress there at all. And I understand, because I filled out the survey, that they had the survey amongst the supporters that was they're going to take that into consideration. So that'll be a huge amount of data that they have to kind of troll through. So that would take a little bit of time. But in terms of the actual decision making thing, we heard, as you say, start of last season, that the chances were that they were going to dig down and put about 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 seats in. That way, that was the first thing they were going to do. And they're no farther forward in making a decision on that. That's what I would say. Without, criticising anybody, I would like to know, well, how's it taking so long? Because I'm no expert in these things. I don't know anything about construction at all, mate. So I genuinely couldn't tell you bricks from mortar, if I'm being honest. And when it comes to that, my hands are baby soft. I'm not that kind of guy. But at the same time, it is just something that's kind of confused me over the last few days.
Yeah, here's the problem, right? As I said, Andrew Cavanagh's put in a load of money to buy this football club, along with the 49ers and the groups and everybody that he spoke about the other day. They put in then more money into a share process, and they're about to put more in it. I understand all that, so you can't really question what their motives are. I think perhaps dial it back slightly on the promises until we see more tangible things happening at the football club. Still to be doing this feasibility study, still to be doing a review of the club, still not appointed anybody that tangible that we can see, with the exception of Jim Gillespie. I think I struggle to really see what we've completely done and what we've fixed. See when they come in, I'll be honest with you, I thought they were going to fix the football club. And we're a year on and there's not much difference. In fact, on the pitch, we've maybe got worse. So if we're talking openly and honestly, which I believe that we try and do at all times, you can say, yep, we are behind Andrew Cavanagh and we're behind Jim Gillespie and we're completely behind the running of the football club. But let's see some more tangible things happening. And I don't think, people might say we're moaning, but I think we're being honest when we talk about our club, about what we want and the direction we want to go in. And I believe that we're okay to do that and also be honest about it.
Well, here's what I would say about it, Stevie, that I actually feel if you look and consider this point at this point last year, on this podcast, I'm talking about nowhere else, but I would look at it and say the excitement that we felt because there was talk of perhaps ripping up kit deals or sponsorship deals and tie-ins with Red Bull or whatever, and you do genuinely look at this, Stevie, and say, well, there's nothing. I would have thought the idea of building your revenue streams would have been the first thing that the American owners would want to do, particularly an organisation as absolutely enormous as the 49ers. Now, I know that they're an investor and a partner, but with their expertise in these things, I did fully expect that to happen way before something like stadium expansion. I expected the revenue streams to not go through the roof. I don't mean it like that, but I expected them to expand really rather quickly, and that hasn't happened either. And I that's more of a question for me than, the fact that a new owner buys the football club and talks about expanding the stadium. That's fine, but I think we're all in the full knowledge that if that were to happen, then we'd probably have to go to Hampden for a certain amount of time and stuff like that. So that there is no rush for that, but it's getting talked about an awful lot. Whereas for me, the commercial side of the football club is far, far more important, because if we get the football right and the commercial side of it right, the expansion of the stadium takes care of itself, Stevie. That's where I am with it. However, again, it is one of those topics that, if I'm being a cynic, it comes up every single year, Stevie, about stadium expansion with Rangers. But, we need to get to the 60,000. I would actually go more than that. I would actually say, go and get 65, 70,000 if it's at all possible. And if you can, do all these feasibility studies and build the biggest possible, it will keep you going for the next 40, 50 years, Stevie. That's where I am with it. An extra 4,000 or 5,000 seats, I don't think makes a huge amount of difference. I could be wrong, but to me, it just doesn't make a huge amount of. It won't have huge implications for us. Put it that way.
Excuse me, I just had to tell my children to shut up because they're running wild with the new puppy that they've been given, and I've got no time for this nonsense, Kenny. Absolutely. Right, let's take a wee break. Something quite exciting happened to the podcast. We were contacted by a company called Snack Fairs. And they sent us a box to enjoy and to try. They're like they're an online company, and basically you can get snacks sent to you from all around the world. And I explained we're not really influencers, we don't really do that stuff, but they sent us a box, so we got to try it out. Here it is. It's absolutely huge. That's it there, Snack Fairs, and they sent us, and it's got loads of stuff in it, absolutely loads. And this is quite fun for me because I've not eaten any of it. Can you see all that, Kenny? That's all just sweets and all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of different kind of stuff. So it's from a country, and the country we got was Turkey. So there's all kind of Turkish drinks and treats and all sorts. Now listen, this is chocolate and biscuits and all stuff, and I've had this next to me for the last week or so, and I've not eaten any of it, Kenny. Are you not proud of me in a way? There's all sorts of, I don't know if you recognise any of this kind of stuff, and It's all sorts of good stuff. There's a hot chili and lime flavoured crisps and all. So there's all sorts of stuff. So I would like to thank. This is a premium box as well. So I'd like to thank Snackverse very much for sending that across to us, and we'll check that out. They promised to send us some more, Kenny, as well. So I reckon we might do a pod one day when we're eating a few of these and trying them out. So yeah. Thank you to Snackverse. I was quite excited about this. Do you remember when I messaged you about it saying we're going to be influencers on the podcast?
I do, yes. And yeah, I didn't know you had that. You've kept that to yourself, Stevie. But I'll look forward to
I don't want to share it, mate.
It's good fun, isn't it? And listen, it's one of those things that I'd actually forgotten all about that, mate. I remember you saying that a wee while back. So that's it here, and yeah, we'll have some good fun with that. We definitely will. We'll do a wee podcast about it, and we'll have a giggle with it. I just
we
four lads had a snack.
Big thanks to Snackverse. We're going to put all the links up on the podcast. If you want to check out their website, they're absolutely brilliant. It's just random. I think you pay somewhere on the lines of maybe say a £10 or £12 a month for a membership, and they just send you a random big box like this every month. So it seems to be fantastic. I've not tried any of the stuff yet, but it was a nice thing for four lads to get. So I quite liked it. Made me quite happy. Anybody sending me sweeties, Kenny, I was quite pleased with it. So yeah.
I noticed you've kept them to yourself, mate. Kept it all very hush hush.
No, that's not technically that's not true. Not one thing has been nibbled on yet, and I listen, that took a lot of willpower. Get back to Andrew Cavanagh. Obviously the big thing was Danny Rule being backed. But to look at what he said slightly differently, he did the other night. He said the culture inside the building and the attitude within the dressing room isn't right. The both Andrew Cavanagh and Danny Rule have admitted the team needs leaders. There was that story again from Ewan Cavanagh's STV podcast the other day about Rule shouting at Cavanagh in the tunnel or the tunnel area, saying that he needs leaders. Okay, they said that happened. I'm not sure. He spoke, that the best coaches often have the best teams, which is true. He spoke, you look at what Rule says about cutting out, we need to cut out the kind of attitude that James Tavernier showed, and we have to make a cut to the squad. Yeah. It's obvious that the football club, that there's bad apples in that dressing room, or that they certainly feel it that way, and the culture of the football club was wrong. I don't really know what to say to you and ask you about that, because see, when you're not winning, you can always point to that sort of stuff and say we've got the wrong squad and the wrong culture. And I understand that completely. But why has there been so many rebuilds of this squad and this and it still turns into the way it was? That's my question.
Well, what worried me about that when I read it, Stevie, I actually believe it. I have no doubt I believe it. But it was very, very reminiscent of what Patrick Stewart said to us last summer. And I thought, well, here we are yet again, the same thing. We're a year. Thanks. It's not even, honestly. Not. But the culture side of it, again, as I say, Patrick Stewart alluded to that last year, and that worries me that a year down the line, we're still in exactly the same position, where we're sitting there saying we feel that we need to change the culture of the football club. The first game of the season, Russell Martin said that we had people looking after, we're only interested in themselves, or looking after themselves. We've got Danny Rule admitting it now. We've got Andrew Cavanagh admitting it now. But more pertinently for me, we had an 18-year-old boy, a baby, effectively, who was up here on loan, who was the first player to ever turn around and admit that in a number of years, probably since Connor Goldson said it after the Hibs game, if you remember, where he questioned the attitude in the dressing room, and he got absolutely slaughtered for it. Well, Mikey Moore didn't get slaughtered for it because if the truth be known, we've probably all known that for a number of years, that the culture within the football club, within the football side of the football club, anyway, has just not been correct, mate. It's just not what you need to go and win things, and we will see where this goes, because for me, more than anything, I just feel that this we had the opportunity last season, we didn't take it effectively at the start of last summer, but this year it's not even an opportunity, it's an absolute must that we sort that out once and for all, and that we have an opportunity here now at this summer with so many big personalities, big characters within the dressing room leaving, that we now have that opportunity to change the personality of the football team. And I think that's why Andrew Cavanagh feels that that's where we should be sticking with Danny Rule, to allow him to put his personality into this team also, which I don't think he's been particularly allowed to do in that dressing room, if I'm being honest.
So here's the obvious questions: who are the biggest influences? James Tavernier is now gone. People talked about it being Connor Goldson, and then he left, and it was still the same issue. Is it Jack Butland? Is it John Suter? Why do we give him another contract? Is it Liam Kelly? Is it the leadership group? Is it, dare I say it, Nico Raskin? Who's the issues there? Where do you stop? Do you just sell absolutely everyone until you can get a cultural change? How do you implement that? How do you separate the ones in there that are the good and the bad egos? Because I suppose we're going to get the answer, aren't we? Because people have pointed at James Tavernier, and I can't answer it because I don't know. But you know, when Fernandez talks about the lack of fight and the lack of spirit and everything else, you know, that's wrong for me. And he's still a young lad in football in terms of actual games played. And then Mikey Moore talking about it, that's not right. So, you know, I think that my biggest issue with this is, you know, where do you stop? How do you root it out properly? Is it down to one person? Is it a collection of them? Said there's going to be massive changes this summer, so I suppose we're going to find out.
I don't think it's a case of weeding it out, Stevie. Nobody's going to tell me that James Tavernier's not a nice person or Nico Raskin's not a nice person. It's not that. It's getting the Andrew Cavanagh said it. It's about getting the chemistry right. It's about getting the blend right. It's about doing your due diligence on football players and being able to identify a guy that is going to be capable of going into a dressing room and improving the dressing room. Now, if you've got, this is what I'm trying to say. I don't think James Tavernier is a bad influence or anything like that, or Nico Raskin's a bad influence. But if you don't agree with a manager or a head coach, there's ways of dealing with this. And at the end of the day, the man that picks the team's got to be the leader. That's what I would say. And perhaps we've got too many people within the dressing room who have all got Rangers' best interests at heart, but are all going about it in different ways. So that's where I think Andrew Cavanagh's talking about character and you know, getting the personality, and that's up to. I mean, Alex Ferguson used to always do this, Stevie, when he was at Man United. The player was one thing, but he would get to know the individual as a person. He would make sure the due diligence was done on that person and what he was going to be like within the dressing room. And when people did get too big for their boots, like a Paul Ince or a Roy Keane, he packed them straight out the door. And this is where we are not ruthless enough with this. We just haven't been. And that's where it is probably exactly what Andrew Cavanagh said. It's not that people are bad in a dressing room. It's just the chemistry that's evaporating, I think, an awful lot of the time.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think so. My kids are carrying on outside my wee dungeon with the puppy, Kenny. Gonna have to go and deal with this at some point. Honestly, the pair of them never do this when we're recording. I'm sorry, folks, if you can hear all that noise.
Listen, I'm cat sitting again. I had the cat down. I was expecting it to start meowing as well, but no, it came down. I went right back upstairs, and I was terrified. I've had somebody at my door, just putting something through the letterbox, expected the doorbell to go. It's just amateur hour in here, mate. That's all it is.
Absolutely is amateur hour. Right, let's move on. Transfers. It's already started, Kenny. Oliver Antman is linked to a move to Bruges. Would you be for and against that? I quite like Antman, but yeah, what do you think of that?
I think he'll go in the summer. I think the manager, the head coach, I keep calling him manager. I think Danny Rowe has shown so little, faith in him that I do feel that you're in a situation with somebody like that if you can get your money back and if you can look to replace him with somebody that's got perhaps more talent or at the same kind of value, whatever it's going to be, then you have to turn around and look at that and say to yourself that you're going to have to be ruthless this summer, Stevie. It's not just somebody like Oliver Antman. There's JD Gazzama is another one that I would look at and just say, well, look, Nadim Bayrami, you look at all the white players, we've just not performed well enough or consistently enough or got the numbers that's required out wide. So for me, if you're going to play that 4-2-2-2 system that Danny Rowe, I think, probably clearly wants to play next season, you have to get, 4 of those guys in those positions that are going to be way more consistent than any of ours have been this season. Perhaps with the exception of young Mikey Moore, who's been inconsistent, but you make allowances for an 18-year-old because you're not going to get, 8, 9 out of 10 out of a kid every single week. Every now and again, the boy will not turn up, which did happen. But for me, it's almost like a no-brainer, Stevie, that just about anybody in the squad that you get a decent offer for, they should be looking at. There's very few that I would look in that squad and say are utterly irreplaceable. I'd like to keep Yusuf Chermiti. I'd probably want to keep Manny Fernandez and the likes of the 2 new boys that come in, 2 Romans and Nadiri. I would love to see them kept, and we would just be listen, it's one of those things when I look at it, we've got so much work to do, and as I say, for me, more than anything else, when you sit there and you analyse our squad, it finished third, it's not good enough, and I'm open to options or offers for just about all of them, Stevie, honestly.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry about that, folks. She was literally crying at the door. She's not even my dog, but I had to just settle her down. She's only 8 weeks old. Her name is Roxy. My dog, as you know, passed 2-3 weeks ago, but as I said, the house managed to get a new puppy for the kids. So, yeah, she was running riot out there. So apologies, Dr. Evil vibes indeed. Here's where I am with it, Kenny, with this squad, right? I think there needs to be a material change in it. I think we need specialists in places. So Nico Raskin in midfield is an 8. Play him as an 8 instead of keeping him as a 6 where he's been played all season, if he's going to stay. If not, you look to move him on before his contract runs down after having good years. But you need specialists. I need somebody in midfield that's going to pass the ball. That's why I talked about getting a specialist like a Gilmore or a Ferguson. A statement of intent signing. Now, people were slaughtering me saying they might not be possible, but how many times I had to say I didn't necessarily think it would be possible. But you need somebody like that, in my opinion. We need a right winger, somebody who's going to stick. You probably need a left winger if you can't get Mikey Moore. And we need a couple of centre backs, a couple of full backs. But here's the thing: we have a lot of promising young players. Kenny, Finlay Curtis, Ashton Scally talked about them getting expected to be integrated into the first team. Young Ashton's only 16. Could you really rely on him? By the way, I thought young McCallie in the midfield looked pretty good. Looked like he can pass the ball, and it's Falkirk, so I get that. So why would we not look to give him a chance, for instance? But there's so much pressure. Is there anybody really within that squad you wouldn't consider a bid for? I'm not sure. But the incoming ones, they need to be so much better.
That's exactly the point, Stevie. It's not so much the ones that are going. If and when these guys do go, you have to replace them with better players, better personalities, better character, more dig, more hunger, more fight about them. Everything that we've lacked all season. And when the chips are down, we've lacked that for a number of seasons. And I think this is where the whole thing kind of envelopes into itself really quite well when you look at it and say that, how many times you're going to change a manager and keep having the same issues. So the likes of young Finlay Curtis should definitely be in our squad next season. I think he's proven a point to Danny Rule in the second half of the season that he is ready, because that's a tough gig going down to a team that were second bottom of the league at the time, Stevie, and performing as well as he did in our league and proving that he can play in our league. Because I thought personally in January he was perhaps just a little bit lightweight and just a little bit tactically off it. I think Neil McCann's done a wonderful job down there with him. To be fair, he's come on leaps and bounds, got himself into that World Cup squad. So delighted for a young boy, the youngest boy in that squad, and he's there on merit. And young Ashton Scally, as I said, before, by all accounts, is an incredible talent. So I did expect, I said that to you at the time when we signed him, I thought it was an unbelievable kind of message to the Rangers fans that we were going to go and do that and get that kind of level of young kid and get him to stay here. So I do look at that. And at the time, I even thought that he must be going to get integrated within the first team squad. So there I'm looking at it, and do I expect him to get many games? Do I expect Rangers to sign another left back? Yeah, probably. But I think he'll be in that squad, and I think he might well get some game time, Stevie. And that's what's exciting me about it, where I just look at it and think that major changes are required. You've got two young Scots kids there that are mega talented. Keep them in that squad and get the best out of them. And it just makes it's a no-brainer to me, put it that way. It makes no sense not to keep these guys in our squad. They're Scottish, they know the club. Come on.
Apologies again. I had the window cleaner at the door looking for money. I have to apologise. The kids playing with their dog. I've interrupted the podcast tonight, and I'm sorry about that. They're running wild with her. As I said, it's not my wee dog, but it's a kids. So I apologise for that. Between that, dogs, doors, promotions, I'm very sorry, everyone. Kenny, just before we go, we've been linked with a few players coming back. Obviously, there's been Ross McCrory, there's been Lewis Ferguson, there's been Dan Neil, I think. There's been the boy Luke Graham at Dundee. I think I called him Cuthbert for the whole podcast on Monday, which obviously is my fault. Alicia Cuthbert on the brain, probably. There's been a few. Is there anyone that struck your kind of imagination so far? I do like the boy Graham at Dundee. There's been a potential. He's been called up, I think, to go with Scotland to train with them before the World Cup, but not to go to the World Cup. And congratulations, by the way, to Liam Kelly, John Suter, and young Finlay Curtis for their involvement in Scotland. Is there anybody that's got you kind of interested in coming in the summer?
No, Not in terms of names, no, because I don't read too much into that. But I'll go back to our conversation, having dropped Davy off after the Hibs game, mate, and I'll just say to you that what we kind of talked about the other day as well is that we need. When I say marquee signings, I don't want to sit and kind of as if it's superstar players. I don't mean it like that. We need 3 or 4 guys on our team that we can properly get behind, guys that are well known. Lewis Ferguson would be one of them, and I keep hearing people telling us that you can't get Lewis Ferguson. Why not? I don't understand that. People say, no, he maybe doesn't want to come here. Well, if he's a Rangers fan and you offer him the right package, of course he's going to want to come here, even if it's at the expense of another club in Italy or whatever that he's been in Italy. It's up to us as a football club, this is my point, to make ourselves more attractive. And to me, it's just one of those things that I just find it a no-brainer that you go and get the best available and you get players that are going to get bums on seats and excite people. That's what we need, because we've done this for far too often, Stevie. We're signing guys that nobody's ever heard of, or project players, and or guys that have went for big money 3 or 4 years previous, and then you're getting them on the cheap because they're always injured or they're no form whatsoever. Even the latest one, it was only a loan, was Skov Olsen, who hadn't played well for a year. We take punch on guys like this. Go and do the due diligence on the players, get it right. And I'm not overly interested in names, to be honest, Stevie. No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think young Robbie Ure is over in Sweden scoring a lot of goals, and I quite like him as a striker. He's big, he's bustly. Would we be looking at him as a replacement maybe for the likes of Yusuf Chermiti if Yusuf Chermiti was to go? It's interesting. We're going to be linked with 100 names this summer. How it goes out, I'm not too sure. I think Rangers do need signings to galvanise the football club, to galvanise the imagination of the support, excite the support, in much the same way that Skov Olsen excited the support, and that didn't work. But it's going to be an interesting summer. I do think Rangers need to make that statement. Kenny, thank you very much. Thoroughly appreciate all your words of wisdom. No, I'm not sharing the snack verse box with you, but yes, of course I will. We'll do something with that benefits the company sending it to us, which we really appreciate. But thank you, mate, as always.
No, thanks, mate. Enjoyed that. Just a wee chat, isn't it? And just get it. The information that was, given to you and the rest of the media on Sunday, been coming out in dribs and drabs, isn't it? So it's been a long week, having known most of it, having to bite your tongue and then doing it on a drip feed basis. It's been a bit right, okay, but it's nothing to do with us. That's just Rangers and the media and the way it works, isn't it? But yeah, enjoyed that, mate. I'm away to get a couple of very quick things done, and then I'm on with Davey doing his new show, recording that for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. History Years, episode 2 will be out tomorrow. Kenny and Davey are recording that. Big thanks to everybody in the comments, everybody that has watched. Thousands of people across all platforms watching, so thank you very much. Sorry if it was a bit stuttery. We got interrupted by kids, by dogs, by window cleaners, by people putting things through the post. That's real life, isn't it? We were a bit early. I need to go and take the wee fella to his football now. So yeah, high as a kite in there, and then we'll see what else happens. So thank you. Sorry that it was a bit early, but really appreciate everybody joining in. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Candid, RYDC. Thank you very much for all your support. As I said, on Monday night, we are looking for new podcasters. If you're interested, young, happy, go lucky, love talking about Rangers, please get in touch, because that's what me and Kenny are, young, happy hipster folk or something. Email us at fourladsadream@gmail.com. If you're interested in sponsoring the pod next year, if you've got a business and you would like them to be on with our happy, cheery faces every night almost, then please email us again on fourladsadream@gmail.com. Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. UEFA Cup tonight, isn't it? UEFA Cup final. So go and enjoy that, folks. Congratulations to Arsenal and Mikel Arteta on their success down south. Really pleased for Mikel. So good on him. And well done to them down there. So yes, we'll be back Friday. I think Friday night show, and then Sunday show isn't on. It's off for a couple of weeks. So I might just turn up myself and do a singular pod. That seems to have been okay lately. So maybe do that. Maybe just come on and just eat my Snackverse box in front of everybody and tell you what it's like. Just crumbs and that everywhere. But hey ho, right. Take care, folks. Have a good night. See you again.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.